Okay, here we are again. This is Alex Duenas with DT, 2510 Advanced CAD Methods. And this is week 5 lecture. And let's see what we got. We are covering chapters, I think it's 7. Let me check the chapter 7, 14, and 15. So we're going to do 3 chapters. Now, the interesting thing about these chapters is that they're kind of a mixed bag of stuff. It's just, I kind of sometimes don't see the logic of how they put some of these chapters together. But anyway, I'm not going to question that. I'm just going to go ahead and cover the material. So first things first, let's take a look at the lesson plan and what we're going to cover. We are going to cover key concepts here. We're going to cover attach an image to scale. We're going to adjust a clip at reference image. We're going to trace an image in AutoCAD. We're going to create hatch patterns. We're going to look at the associativity between hatch boundaries. We're going to connect or convert hatch into externally referenced drawings. And we're going to edit our X reference in place. Okay, so keywords today are raster data, clipping, X references, hatching, and associativity. Let me cover these a little bit. A raster image is kind of something that you take a picture with your camera, with your phone camera. It's got made of a bunch of JPEGs, and it's not a vector image similar to what AutoCAD is. They're made of a bunch of little squares. Okay, and let's see. Clipping is trimming out an X reference. Now, when I get into X references, you'll understand what I mean. But an X reference is another person's drawing file that you are referencing in your drawing so that you could use it for the different types of purposes. The closest thing I can get to how to explain this is in Revit, when you set the depth in Revit so that you can see 2 floors simultaneously. You can see the second floor and the first floor below. Okay. Next one is hatching. Okay, everybody knows what hatching is, and the associativity between the hatching. Okay, and how they're not associated if you bring in a X reference, and that hatch is associative, but it's residing in another drawing, and we'll see how that is not associative. Okay, and what I mean by associative is when you stretch one grip icon of the hatch pattern, how the hatch pattern grows. And I'll show you examples of those. Okay, but first things first, let's go ahead and insert into our drawing. Open up a blank AutoCAD drawing by typing File, New, and then choose this ACAD right here. And then insert into the drawing. Let's see, it's on your CD Chapter 7, and this is the, let's see, oh boy, a ton of blocks. I think this is the 07 unit. Yeah, it's right there, 07A unit. So that's the file you want to insert as a block. Okay, I'm going to let you go ahead and do that, and you should have this drawing sitting up here like that. Okay, the scenario is now is that your boss, the architect, wants to put these single studios in a series here so that he can make this kind of like apartment building complex. So let's say I create the apartment building complex by making a rectangle here. So we have enough room for the studios on both, not only this row but also in this row. And we're gonna just go ahead and populate this, and we have a little bit of an area here for aisleway. So anyway, so what we want to do is we want to take this, kind of move it over here to the side, and what we want to do is we want to duplicate this apartment. Okay, but we want to mirror this. We don't want to make a copy of this. So I'm just going to take a point here. I invoke the mirror command, and I go ahead and mirror that. Now, what the author was mentioning is mirroring off of a particular dimension, using a particular axes of mirroring. This is similar to what you did in Inventor, and the reason being is that he wants to probably offset for a 4 to 6 inch interior wall. I'm going to go ahead and create a line, and I'm going to offset, say, 3 inches. Go over here, erase this. Now I'm going to mirror the studio apartment and use this as my base point. Oops, I think I missed. Okay, now I guess I didn't. I guess I did it right. AutoCAD's now asking me if I want to erase the source object. No, I want to keep it. So, oh, came out crooked. I thought so. Invoke the mirror command again, highlight it, pick the end, and make sure I'm near that vertical line. Hit return. Now I have a 6-inch wall in between my two studio apartments. Okay, now I can just go ahead and copy these and continue on my merry way here. I'm just going to copy those this way and then copy all of these. Okay, move them over here. Now, remember that this first started off with one apartment in which I mirrored, and now I have, and very easily now I have, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8 of them. And then now all I need to do is select the width of the hallway, and if I'm not mistaken, the hallways are usually 42 inches. So I'm going to offset this 42, and that's kind of a narrow hallway. Let's say 5 feet. That's 60 inches. Better. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror all these guys here. Go here, and then I'm going to, no, I'm not copy, I'm going to mirror here, there, and now I'm asked again if I want to erase the source objects. I'm going to say no. Now I have a whole series there, but notice it, I used this as a center point, so it actually doubled my aisle width. Now I'm like 10 feet aisle width, but that's okay. I think you understand where I'm going here. When I inserted the block, I used one block and duplicated a bunch of items. Now the block is a handy thing for that because I can create one block, just draw it once, and notice I have the mirrored reference, and I also I can duplicate it rather easily rather than having to select each one of these little items and then copying those. So you can see the power of the block. Okay, as I said, that was AutoCAD blocks, and we're going to see how X references can almost do the same type of work, but X references give you the flexibility of allowing the other designer to continue working on his design here while you are referencing his drawing. And in fact, while he updates his drawing, your drawing will update next time you reinsert the drawing, or I'm sorry, reload the drawing, or bail out of the drawing and get back in, and it automatically reloads. Okay, so again, we're going to talk about X references. Basically, in a nutshell, AutoCAD, which often tries to save memory by just quickly creating what's called a virtual draw. And it just kind of like makes a superfluous draw, a really kind of a lightweight draw. And by telling it to redraw, you're telling it to just, quickly refresh and get your ducks in a row, so to speak, but in a very quick fashion. Okay, as opposed to a regen where it goes down into the database and makes sure everything is aligned. Okay, it's just kind of a subtle little difference. All right, so now let's see. So sometimes if you see, like in this case, this arc here looks faceted. So if I regen it, notice how it then popped out and it became nice and round again. Yeah, what happened is that regen went down into the database, reconstructed it, and placed the arc in like it's supposed to be. Okay? Okay, now let's take a look back at this example. Let's say the architect says, in your layout, here, let's go to paper space layout because this is where we're going to plot. I want you to zoom in, and I want you to make a detail down here of the kitchen area, okay? So using the same image, we don't have to redraw anything. We can borrow the image. Okay, I cleaned up the drawing a little bit, and let's imagine this red line here is your border, your title block and all that. And here are the apartments that you're putting into your apartment complex. And here's a detail of one of those rooms here. So I went ahead and turned off the M views as well, so we can clear things up. All right. So how do we control the views here? How if you wanted to save a view, can you save it so that if you messed it up, you can always come back to where the view was? Let me give you an example. If I double click in here, go into model space, I can zoom out and mess up my scale. I would then have to come back down in here, and that's a pretty small scale. See, 10's too big, probably go 40 scale, maybe even more than that. How about, let's go 60 scale. Nope, more than that. Let's go 100 scale. Let's go 500 scale. Nope, too much. No, 250, I think. I missed it. Okay, that's close enough. Okay, so 250 scale. Again, so that I don't have to mess this up, I could lock this, or I can create a view. And a view is a retrievable definition of a picture window here, so that you can retrieve it just in case you lose it. So the way you create a view out of this here is you type the obvious view, and up comes this window here. So let's say I want this view here as my new view. I'll just go ahead and type new, and this is, I want to call it APT apartment layout. Okay, that's my layout. Category none for right now. UCS is world, and all this is basically just leave it alone. I think we're okay with defaults. Say okay. Now once I do that, you can see that the apartment layout name here, or view, got stacked into the model views, which is okay. That's what we wanted. Now let's go over here. We're going to create another view down here, and this is going to be detail. So again, we're going to type view, and we say new detail. Oops, detail, and we can keep everything the same. Okay, say okay. All right. So notice again, these are two different scales. Okay, this is about twice as large as these apartments here. But let's say again, if I go in here and I mess this up, okay, double click, all that icon stuff's getting in the way. That's why it's a little confusing. But notice my scale got kind of messed up. So if I want to retrieve it, I just go back into the viewport, type view, go to the particular view you want. In this case, it'd be detail. Hit set current, and apply, and it should go back to the detail we had when you first defined that view. Okay, so sometimes views can save you, and if you have multi-sheets, you may want to make multi-views. Okay, page let's see, 228. The book talks about understanding frozen layer options. Okay, let me type LA, and hopefully I won't confuse you guys too much. All right, okay, here we go. So here you have the layers on the left of everything we have. Now, unfortunately, this has a gazillion layers because I unfortunately opened up the National CAD Standards drawing, which again has a ton of layers. Okay, goes all the way down there. So yeah, I didn't necessarily want that one, but I accidentally chose it. So let's talk about freezing the layers. And I think most of you have experience with freezing layers. Not a big deal, right? But going past the standard freezing and turning off of layers. Let's take a look at these two. New VP freeze or viewport freeze. This one right here. Now this is kind of a cool option because if I wanted to shut something off specifically in this view and not shut off, and not shut it off over here, I can use this freeze to freeze it here but not there. So let me try that. If I knew what layer that magenta was, I think that's Windows anyway. Let's XList it. XList. And oops, can't do that because it's not an X reference. Let's go into the block editor and I'll take a look at it, see what layer it is. Boy, my computer's slow today. Here we go. And it is on layer Control 1. Ceiling. Ceiling, interesting. Okay, so let's go back. I can just close out of the block editor. Again, ceiling is, I don't want to save my changes. Okay, so I just want to turn off ceiling, but I don't want to turn it off in all cases. I just want to turn it off in that particular case. Now notice I've kind of goofed up my viewport. I have to get back to Paperspace and see where I'm at. Ah, wow. But never fear, because remember we created that view. So all I have to do is type V for view, go to department layout, say set current, apply. I should be in business again. And there we go. Okay, now let's get back to the viewport freeze. Let's say I want the viewport freeze here. I didn't want to see the ceiling elements, but I did want to see them in my close-up. So all I have to do is go back in here, go to the layer manager, and again that was ceiling, right? Oh, I hate when that docks like that. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. Oh, not allow docking. There we go. Ceiling. I have to search through these. Okay, here it is right here. If I follow the little trail, I'm going to turn the viewport freezing on. Okay, so what that's going to do is it's going to now just freeze those elements in this viewport. Okay, they're not frozen globally. That's the important part. That's what the point I'm trying to make. Notice that over here in the detail, those elements from the ceiling are still active. Okay, but in this view, notice that they're frozen. That's kind of what that VP freeze will do. Now, what new VP freeze will do is, and this is in the case where you have complex drawings in your X referencing, every time you create a new drawing, the new layer, whether that designer likes it or not, is going to show up in his drawing. So sometimes you want to turn those off so that they're not an inconvenience to the other designer who's X referencing into your drawing. Okay, so let's can that. And now for the next portion, I just did it again. I just kind of messed up my view. View, set current, set apply. Now I'm going to lock it. I'm going to lock this one as well. Okay, here we go. Just going to back out. Okay, now I'm not losing my view scale. All right, so let's say the architect says, I want some hatching in here, and I want hatching in every one of these apartments. Okay, so all you need to do is get a polygon here and just kind of trace around the corners. Let's see. And I'm just going to take it to there and close it. Okay, now, this is my polyline here. Let's say I wanted to create some hatching now. I just type H, and AutoCAD's asking me to select what I want to hatch, and I want to hatch that area right there. So I can click it and hit T for settings, and up comes this window. This is a window I like. I can expand this out so you can get a bigger window. See? Okay, right now it's set to solid, but I don't want a solid. I want say this one. Let's see. Okay, select NC31. I say OK. Didn't change. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and modify it here. I do that by highlighting it. And let's go to patterns, and I want to change this to NC131. Let me get a full ribbon here. There we go. Okay. Now the reason I don't have a full ribbon is my scale. So let's try 10. Better, but not quite there yet. How about 20 scale? Way not too good. Let's see, 40. Better. I bet you if I went 100, that would do it. Okay. So now I have hatching inside the little room here. Okay. And this hatching is associative. And what I mean by associative is if I pull one of the corners, the hatching was supposed to go with it. Interesting, it didn't. Okay, let's create another rectangle. Hate when that happens. Okay, go hatching. And then I want to poke in there. But I also want to go to my settings. Okay, let's take a look. Okay. No, it's associative. Hatching should have worked. Okay, let's see. Let's try that again. So I pull this corner. Oh, yeah, see that the hatching grew with it? That means it's associative as opposed to this. I don't know why this happened, but it should have been reacted just like that. Okay, so now if I wanted to, interesting thing about the hatching is that despite me not having, okay, I'm going to get rid of the little border, and I have just the hatching alone there. I can use that hatching to derive an area. So if I type the command area and I type O for object, I can hit the hatching, and AutoCAD comes back and says that you have 88 square feet in this particular hatch pattern. So lo and behold, you're not stuck if you don't have the boundary and you just have the hatching. You can always get the area if you have the hatching. Now you could also get the boundary back if you have the hatching available. So touch the hatching, right click, and you want to hatch edit. Maybe I'm going to have to HE return. Okay, now I want to now reassociate the border with the hatching. Here it is right here. I want to recreate the border. Okay, now it doesn't look like anything happened because I'm set up on a 0 layer and everything's white. But if I select the edge, notice I now have, I'm going to move last. Oh, maybe I didn't get it. That didn't work. Let's try that again. Let's go up here. Boundaries, retain, recreate boundary. What's it asking me here? Enter the type of, polyline. Yes, you want to associate it and escape. So you should have it now. Yep. See, it grows out there with it. And if I move it, it's just so hard to pick. Okay. I still can't get. You know what? Let me destroy the hatch. It's probably the easiest thing. No. Okay, let's try it one more time. REC hatch in here. Okay. Move the hatch out. Now I have the little frame, and I'm going to destroy that. Erase. Okay, now I'm going to move this back in, and I'm going to right click, and let's go back over here. I'm going to recreate the boundary. Okay, I want polyline, return. I want to associate it, yes. and return. Okay, delete. Okay, there we go. Finally worked. Now I have the little hatch, or the border associated with it again. Remember, I erased it. I then recreated it, and now it's there. Okay. Let's see. Last thing I want to talk about. Well, let's see how many more subjects on hatching. Just a couple of things here. Let's erase that. Let's say your boss wants a brick pattern starting from this corner. Well, what you're going to have to do is, if you want it to start exactly at the corner, you're going to have to kind of like create a origin for that corner, and I'll show you how to do that. So what you want to do is you want to place hatching in there, but this time we're going to use like a brick hatching, something like that. Okay, hatch patterns, the architectural, let's see, here's one. Let's try one of these right here. Okay, and let's take a look at this bottom left hand corner. Notice that we're starting off with segments here. It's not one brick here in the corner. So what we want to do is we want to change that. So what we need to do is we need to set the origin right here. So we click this. AutoCAD prompts you to select the corner, select it here, and now all of a sudden our brick is aligned. Okay, now if you're set to architectural units and you're set 1 to 1, you can be guaranteed with this particular hatch pattern that it's going to come in at its proper scale. Okay, which is, if you're dealing with 8-inch cinder block, it's going to be 8 inches high and 16 inches long. Okay, so, and AutoCAD did that purposely so that architects can put in their blocks in and they're going to be scaled correctly. Now you have to remember that AutoCAD was made primarily for architects initially, and then it just kind of branched off. Okay, let's continue our discussion, our mixed bag discussion in chapter 7. Now we're jumping from hatching, we're jumping to blocks and X references. Okay, and this is about on page 248, 249. And what the author would like to do is talk to you about the differences between both. Both can be referenced into a drawing, but the way that they're held in the drawing are completely different. As a block, if you create a block out of several objects, the block is basically live in the drawing that you're working in. Live meaning the database contains those entities. If you're X-referencing something, it's treated as a block, but the X-reference comes from outside. So it's coming in from another individual. So again, let's say this is your drawing, and let's say this is someone else working on another drawing, and then you have a block. Okay, I'm going to draw the block in here. You see, the block resides internally in your drawing, so it's what we call live, as opposed to an X reference, which allows you to borrow the picture only. So I open this drawing up, but I can see this picture underneath. I cannot edit it unless I do something very special, but it's there for me to reference. It's there for me to use. That way I don't have to draw all those elements again. Okay, so let me kind of demo that. Let's see. Let me create some objects and then I will be right back. Okay, I brought some elements in, and this is our famous kitchen that we've been working on for the last quarter, since week 1. Anyway, I brought this in, and notice that as I touch one object, everything highlights. And so that's indicative that this whole object is a block. And if you remember last week, I talked to you about editing the block by typing the command BE, and what's best is to touch the block before you type BE. BE, there we go, we can select that. That's what we want to edit. And up comes the block editor, and we can change the individual elements in here in the block editor. But if you notice, I just highlighted one of the kitchens. These cells now are individual blocks. So we have something here, we have blocks within blocks, which which is kind of interesting. Now, if I was to explode this block, explode, okay, now if I zoom in here, these objects they're individual objects now. Oh no, I take that back. There's blocks within blocks within blocks. So this is one block, that's one block. So I can continue to explode these and get down to their elements. Okay? So let me bail out of the block editor. I don't want to save that, but okay. But here's the block. Okay, now again, the block, since it resides in my drawing, I can edit it by keep on exploding the object. So that means that my entities are live. Okay? As opposed to, let me get rid of this block now. Well, actually, you know what? There's a reason why I'm going to destroy this drawing. I'm going to destroy it because it has a block reference in it. Let me open a new drawing. Nope, I want a new. And the drawing that you have, if it contains a block and you have an X reference that has the same name, AutoCAD will refuse to import either the block or the X reference, okay, because they have to have unique names. So that's why I destroyed it. I didn't want that block residing in my drawing here. The drawing name. I'm sorry, the block name to be residing in my drawing. Now what I'm going to do is I inserted the block before using the I command. Now I'm going to type X reference. Okay, and when I type X reference, this window should appear. Okay, a little different than inserting the block. With the insertion of the block, you have insertion point, scale, all that jazz. Here, I just go get my drawing. I'm going to go ahead and hit drawing up there. And I want you to notice something as well. Let me go back. If I hit the little arrow, down arrow, I can import images, DWFs, DGNs, which are MicroStation, PDFs, and I can attach this to the vault. Forget the vault thingy. Probably one of the most important things you got to remember is attach images, drawings, and PDFs. So let's go back to drawings. Did I hit drawing? Hang on a second. Yes, I'm on drawing. Okay, drawings. I'm going to go to my CD. Where's it at? That's it right there. Chapters. Projects, chapter 7. And I'm going to X reference that plan we were just looking at, the one that I had inserted as a block. Okay, notice now this looks like the block insertion tool, but one difference is that it says attach external reference, not a block. Okay, so I took off the specify on screen. I just wanted to go in at 0,0. Okay, so everything's okay. Now here's an interesting item that I want to talk to you about. I have the choice of either attaching the object or the drawing or overlaying the drawing. If I attach the drawing, that means that I will have a layer, not our drawing layers, but a DWG underneath my live drawing. Okay, now if that drawing that I'm X referencing has an X reference underneath it, and so on, let's say 10 deep, by using the attach, I'm going to see all the drawings, even if it's 10 deep. If I use overlay, AutoCAD says, I'm only going to cut you off at 1. You can only see 1 X reference deep. You can have 10 X references wide, but you can only have 1 deep. Okay, so let me say overlay here. Okay. Now my drawing appears and it looks like there are overlays on overlays. Okay, so I'm going to, one is unloaded. I'm going to reload that, but let me go find the one that's missing, and I think I know where it's at. It's in chapter 7 on my CD. So let me go to computer, back to my CD. Sorry this takes so long. Projects, chapter 7. And which drawing was it? It was the Uni X reference. This one right there. Okay, and then I need the plan. I'm going to reload. No, I won't reload it, but I'm going to go get it. And found that. Go down here. Huh? Oh, that's because it's unloaded. I gotta reload. Let's see if, yep, opened up for me. 7B plan, that's what I want. Okay, there we go. Okay, so everything is in. All right, once that's all done, I am going to go ahead and bail out of here, and let me zoom extents. Drawing's got to be somewhere. Okay, there it is. Okay, so this is a compilation of 3 X references that are plowed in my drawing all together. Now, the first thing I want you to notice is that it's grayed out in the background. It's grayed out because that's to let the drafter know that that something's going on with that drawing, and it's typically going to be the fact that you either have it on a frozen layer, or it's an X reference, or it could be a block as well. I'm trying to turn that grid off, and it won't go here. Turn it off that way. Okay, there it is. Let me see here. Let me show you something. Let me go down here. Hopefully you can read the bottom there. I'm going to the options, and up comes the options window. And if you notice right here that my XREF display is at 70%, okay, my fade control. So that means that I'm purposely fading it back. Now, if I wanted to correct that, if I wanted full color, I would just adjust this lever here. But for the time being, I'm okay. All right, now let me list this, or let me touch the whole object. Okay. As I touch one entity, notice the whole block lights up, X reference block, similar to the block that I did just a minute ago, but there's one subtle difference. This is an external reference. So as an example, let's say Pablo is working on these rooms here, rearranging them, but he's got the X reference in the apartment building complex. And let's say someone else is working on plumbing, and I X reference the plumbing. So we can have 3 people simultaneously designing this building while only occupying one drawing for drafting. So basically 4 people can be working on this thing simultaneously. And all the changes update. They give you a little notification. AutoCAD gives you a little notice here that someone's changed the drawing. Okay, now let's say you're the only one working late night in the shop, and everyone's gone home, but you got to finish this job, but you're getting tired of having to search for the X references and having to change something when the other designer isn't there. Well, you don't need to fear, because you can edit this. You can open it up and edit this on the fly. And all you need to do is right click and go down to Edit X Reference in Place. Now you also have Open X Reference, and sometimes that's even more advantageous. But let's just talk about the Edit X Reference in Place. Okay, that's the X reference I want. Oh, okay. Well, okay. So what's happened is, since I pulled this off the CD or the DVD, it's not allowing me to edit it because there's a lock on it. I would have had to place it on my desktop, which is okay. But let me see if I can open it. Let's see. Whoops. I gotta go back. Right click. Open X reference in place. And let's hopefully I can open it. No, it says it's current. Read only. That's why. Okay. Let me fix that, and I'll be right back.